In this episode, Harfoots kick out the stranger, Galadriel takes a look in the mirror, death and destruction come to the realm of men, and it gets very hot, very fast in Moria. Hello out there, entertainment enthusiasts. I'm Ray, and this is the Fandom Realm. Today I'm looking at the penultimate, 7th episode of Rings of Power, and it is definitely fire. This is a spoiler warning, so be warned. I really enjoyed this episode of Rings of Power. I really think it may have been the best episode of the season. We saw both some storyline and character progression. With that, first off, the Harfoots. They're going to end up kicking the stranger out of the group after he actually tried to heal a tree. Some things are taken incorrectly, and it didn't work out immediately, so they kicked him out, and he left. And then overnight, they're going to realize their mistake, because when they get up in the morning, that tree is flourishing. It's providing apples. All the trees are providing fruit. They have all kinds of food, and so things are doing really well. Basically, now we're going to get to see some more of the Dweller and her companions. You know, they're almost like a cult for Sauron. They end up burning the Harfoot village in their search for the stranger. So at this point in time, it's pretty obvious they are looking for the stranger, and I'm not sure they are on his side. Nori and several others are going to decide to go out and try to find the stranger and warn him about the Sauron cultists. And, of course, we have to get a group going out on an adventure. I'm not really sure what they're planning on doing here. I'm glad we get to see a little more of the Dweller. I was surprised that the Dweller has quite a bit of power. Now, I had been thinking that the Dweller and her colleagues, her group, might be some of the Maiar. They're sort of like godlike beings. They're exactly what Sauron is. But that doesn't seem to be the case. So we'll just have to wait and see how that all develops. They are very powerful, and they definitely want the stranger. Question is, are they an ally, or are they an enemy? The other major storyline actually merged in the last episode, and that is Galadriel and the Númenóreans coming to the Southland, which by the end of the episode is going to be renamed Mordor. We are going to see Galadriel split off from the group in a pairing that I never really expected, but really worked out very well. In all of the death and destruction wrought by Mount Doom's explosion, Galadriel is going to find Theo, of all people. And they're going to attempt to escape all of the destruction together in order to find the Númenórean base camp. I really thought the chemistry between the two was really good. It started out sort of like a mother-child relationship, but sort of grew to one of mutual respect at the end for both of them. And you could really see a lot of growth in both characters. For Galadriel, I thought this growth was awesome, because it really moved her more to the Galadriel I think of from the Lord of the Rings movies than what they started out with here. And maybe that was their plan all along. But with that, that was probably my biggest issue with this series so far, has been the portrayal of Galadriel. Almost all the advice that she gives Theo along the way is advice that she needs to accept herself. And we see her go through a journey of self-discovery, sort of paralleling her journey with Theo to find the base camp. By the time she reaches the camp, by the time they both reach the camp, they've both changed. Once they do arrive, Theo finds his mother. She is alive. He's actually going to end up showing some affection towards Arondir, in that he's going to give him a big hug when he realizes he was alive. And I think this is something that really shows how much Theo has progressed in the storyline as well. They did not have a good relationship before all of this happened. One very interesting twist during the journey is that Galadriel told Theo about her dead husband, Celeborn. Of course, everybody that knows anything about Lord of the Rings knows that Galadriel was married to Celeborn. They ended up having a daughter, and that daughter ended up marrying Elrond. So that makes Galadriel Arwen's grandmother. If Celeborn's dead, that can't happen. And so I'm definitely interested to see where they're going to go with that information. I'm hoping they're not trying to change the story around. I just don't think that would work. And that would be something I would really grade them down on. Of course, the Númenóreans had a very bad time as well. They lost a lot of men, including Isildur's one friend. I'm not sure of his name. He's the one that really didn't want to be there in the first place. And of course, the big loss is they appear to have lost Isildur. He was rescuing some people from a burning building, and the building fell on him. Basically, it's left off with Elendil basically believing that Isildur is dead. And everybody has left the village at this point. And so there's really nobody that we know of looking for him. Now, I really do expect maybe in the next episode, something's going to happen. Isildur's horse doesn't take his loss very well either. And Elendil actually is going to set him free. And he runs off. So I think a general belief here is that the horse, and I've never been able to catch the horse's name, will end up finding Isildur alive, and we'll get to see them again. Of course, we know Isildur has to be alive. Somehow, some ways, he has to be alive. He is one of the characters that has the absolute most plot armor in this entire series, along with, of course, Galadriel and Elendil as well. We also find out that the Queen Regent has been blinded, and in the end, she's going to pledge to a guilty-feeling Galadriel. And this was very interesting because by the time Galadriel had made this transformation, she was feeling very guilty about what had happened to the Númenóreans, and to the Queen Regent herself. But the Queen Regent pledges that the Númenóreans are going to return, they're going to fight, and they're going to go against the evil. Elendil doesn't really seem so certain in all that. Of course, that's because he is still feeling the grief for losing Isildur. The other big thing here is in the end, Halbrand has been injured. Galadriel takes a look at the wound and decides it needs elvish medicine in order to heal him. This is going to be very interesting because she is taking Halbrand, who lots and lots and lots of people out there think that Halbrand is Sauron. And there have been some points that I would say might support that. But you're taking Halbrand to the elves, and I just think this is setting up for a big reveal in the last episode. Finally, things are getting very hot in Moria very fast, as the king refuses to mine the mithril for the elves. This causes a big rift with Durin IV. We're going to have a great scene between Elrond and Durin as they exchange some very personal dialogue as Elrond is getting ready to leave Moria. These two actors really have some great chemistry. And, lots of people complain about the writing and other things going on here. And I just think they're crazy. The scenes between, especially Elrond and Durin, between Galadriel and Theo, they were so well written, I thought. And, I think people need to just chill out a little bit on this whole idea of the Tolkien books are almost like the Bible. You can't change them. You can't play with the stories any. That, is one thing. Actual writing, and when you talk about how the dialogue the characters are having, I think it, for the most part, has been very good. Now, Elrond's actually going to leave. He walks out the door. Durin is actually going to toss the mithril on the table. It is going to land beside that pretty much dead leaf, and it's going to heal that leaf, which is from the Tree of Light. That's going to lead him to go against his father's orders, and he and Elrond are going to end up digging to find a vein of mithril. And boy, do they find the mithril. There seems to be more than enough in the cave for what they are going to need. However, King Durin, not a happy camper. He's going to put a stop to what they're doing. He kicks Elrond out of Moria, and it seems like he disinherits Durin. This is not going to go over well with Lyssa. And we're going to basically end this storyline with Durin the Fourth and Lyssa actually having a very interesting conversation, which makes me think there may be an attempt to overthrow King Durin. And I think it's crazy in Lord of the Rings, in a Lord of the Rings series, we might see some type of civil conflict. Is that actually going to happen? What do you all think about that? What is the reaction of the elves going to be to what has happened? Of course, they believe that if the light of the tree goes out, they're going to die if they stay in Middle-earth. Of course, Galadriel is returning to the elves with Halbrand, and that's going to set up that idea, as I mentioned a second ago, about Halbrand being Sauron. This was the penultimate episode of Rings of Power. I'm excited to see where they're going. I really like this episode. It seems we definitely are going to get Sauron's reveal in the final episode of the season. That's what we've all been waiting for since day one. They've done a very good job of keeping Sauron's identity a secret. They've thrown a few things out there, possibly a couple of red herrings. With the episode, not many negatives. There were a couple of cheesy spots here and there in the writing, not really big enough to ruin the episode or really deduct big time for the grade. But one of those was the reveal of the Southlands as Mordor. They basically put a text up and said Southlands, and then they showed text burning into Mordor. It's a little cheesy. Everybody sort of knew what was going on. Not sure they really needed that. And the other one was just one of these little picky type things for me. Nori's dad made a big speech before they go off to find the stranger. And it's about the harfoots being there for each other. I'm not sure that's the best time to really make that type of speech when basically there were harfoots that were wanting to leave him behind when he was having his issues with that, what almost looked like a broken ankle. So that sort of rubbed me the wrong way. But overall, generally, these are the only negatives I had of this episode. I really like everything with the cinematography here, the colors they used. I thought the filming looked awesome as well. To me, the strength of the episode basically was, and my favorite part I've already said, was the journey of Galadriel and Theo. Two people I never would have thought would have been together. Lots of character work between them. We got to see Galadriel grow into more of the elf we were thinking we were going to see. Overall, there was a lot of character work in this episode. Not only between Galadriel and Theo, we got to see more of Elendil, the Queen Regent. We got to see her develop some. We also got to see Elrond and Lyssa and Durin the Fourth. Lots of development here. Even with Nori and some of the harfoots, we got to see things develop a little more. And that's another reason why, just to throw in there real quick, it's another reason why I'm personally worried that Halbrand is going to be Sauron. They are not doing too much to progress his character as King of the Southlands. It's a little bit suspicious. Everything that's happened in this episode basically kept me very interested in what was going on. I wasn't expecting some of the things to happen. And it just shows you don't have to have a battle to have something be interesting. Now, I'm definitely super interested in the final episode, especially after seeing episode 7 of Rings of Power. And for that reason, I'm going to give it a grade of a B+. I hope this reaction is helpful to you. Thanks for watching and listening. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and make comments. We'll see you next time on the Fandom Realm.